Can you just give a quick round of applause for Julian and Olivier for joining us from the UK? So Santosh and I, we kickstarted the fireside chats 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And the idea is just showcasing some of our ventures and the venture CEOs so that they can share their experience and also what they're doing, some of their progress, some of their plan, and turn it into a learning session for all of us. Okay, so when I say all of us, it's obviously within SE Ventures, but we have a few external as well. So feel free to ask any question to these guys, both on their journey and their plans for the future.
And also we want to make it very informal in a way that it's not going to be about Zodia and Zodia Custody or anything to do with the the offerings that the ventures provide. It's more to do of knowing the venture leads more closely, because that's where we can actually build that healthy relationship and then get to know more and more about the personal side of it and how they came into this game, what they do well, what were their challenges, where did they come out of their pitfalls, and how did they emerge from any of those challenges. Of course, again, everyone talks about successes, but then the more learnings would be from the hard lessons that they've come across. Yeah, that's the intent, and I hope you're okay with that. You're not prepared for it.
It's a little bit too late to leave anyway. So Julian, maybe we can start with you. If you can give us a little bit of your journey, your background. I think I recently heard that from you, because I follow you on LinkedIn, that you were too old to be a crypto bro.
Yes.
I was very disappointed. So
Financial news.
Yes. I guess a quick plotted history. Went into management consultancy. Did that for like 20 years. Got fed up of doing PowerPoint. Wanted a proper job. Probably should have gone into the client side probably about 10 years before, but I didn't. Had an opportunity to meet a lady called Anne Bowden, who is the CEO of Starling Bank, 2015, and she persuaded me to work for 9 months for free, doing a startup and being the COO of Starling Bank, which is kind of a bit of a strange one, and I will be quick on this bit, because everybody's got a current or checking account. Would you trust your money on a startup bank when actually, how differentiated is it? But it was a technology play, so it was banking only on a mobile phone when you couldn't do very much in the UK on a mobile phone. So did that, and then joined Gemini, the crypto exchange, and then went to Bitstamp to run that exchange. And that was kind of interesting because so I'm a crypto believer. I'm not an evangelist, and I have got the grey hairs, and I'm not too old to be a crypto bro. So it's about how we can apply crypto in the banking world, as opposed to just saying we're going to do this no matter what. So for me, the journey is about crypto going into banking, not banking being destroyed by crypto, and having that piece. And being at Zodia is absolutely where my head is in terms of institutional, bank-backed, doing the right thing in terms of the ecosystem, and that's hence why I joined end of last year. Cool. Awesome, thank you.
Olivier?
Olivier, yeah.
Completely opposite background.
But your PowerPoint's quite good though.
Yeah. I work a lot on that, So, no, completely opposite background. So I'm a pure product of the bank. So a long time, due to the accent, you can guess. So I've been domestic. As you. So the working in domestic market in France, large bank, always on, excuse the language, what I used to call shitty project. Politically exposed, technologically risky. We don't touch. This kind of project. So and that's what I like. Actually, when I relocated, and I already said that to Alex 6 years ago when I relocated to Singapore, I joined Standard Chartered, and you can imagine, the accent is not right nowadays, but you can imagine what it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. He can testify. So the point is that the bank has welcomed, but not only the bank has welcomed, the bank has given an opportunity. And in fact, when I said the complete opposite, the goal here was to bring the bank to the crypto world. So which means that we still embrace the whole framework, compliance, everything that you can imagine, and we have to deal a lot with those things. But yet, how can we still do crypto? With still, I would say no compromise, meaning that we keep the bank framework, but we adapt it for the crypto world, and that's really what has been the journey. So, I believe that that's why Julian and I, although the relationship is quite recent, we fit quite well because in fact we have the same exact goal, which is crypto and bank. We should not oppose it. They work together.
So is this the first time that the French and the English have actually ever got off?
That's such an easy.
Have I said
that is
the opposite?
That is
you know
such
how-
a cliche. Such a cliche.
You know how you're seated as well. All right, so Julian, I think because we said it is more about you and how you made it to this, in terms of the ventures or in terms of the startup world. It's more about a personal question of you're working on at a big corporate. What made you think about that switch? Was it instant, one fine morning you said enough of PowerPoints, or was it something that you always wanted to do since you were 11-year-old and you thought, okay, now is the time?
I think if I drill down a little bit about my consulting journey, 4 years at Accenture, 4 years at EY, and then I started a consultancy. I ran that for 13 years and sold it. And that was a crazy thing to do because I was 29 years old and I created a consultancy. And I would not do that now because my network was just so small. Yeah. But I happened to get a couple of clients, and then we got somebody else to join, and somebody else to join, and then build that up into a team. So I think I naturally prefer smaller organisations, and where you can have a real direct line of sight to the client, to the profitability, to the commercials, and what you're doing, as opposed to larger structures, which I don't think is where my DNA is.
Interesting.
And when you joined Starling, how did you decide to make that leap of faith, I guess? But just sold your company and then we're looking for the
I was
next
thinking
thing?
I was going to do some consulting with Anne and doing some payment stuff, which is where my background was. Anne Bowden, the CEO, is an amazing person, super bright, and she just hooks you in and wheels you in. And why don't you just come for a couple of weeks? And after 2 weeks, they said, well, could you just do this for another 2 more weeks? And the funding's around the corner. And of course, the funding wasn't around the corner. The funding was nowhere in sight at all. And by that time, you'd done 4 to 6 weeks.
We deal with her a little bit.
Yes.
It's just useful information.
Indeed. And I've helped our side on that conversation as well, because I think it's understanding that dynamic's important. And of course, once you've invested 6 weeks, you don't want to walk away because the shares will only happen if there's funding, and then you sit there. Had I known it was going to be 9 months without any, but it has to be about belief as well, doesn't it? It's a belief about the team, it's belief about the product, and then you have to be that evangelist to go out there and find out how you're going to get your customers. So we did a competition very early on in 2016, which was how do we get a waiting list? Just a very simple thing like how do we get customers on a waiting list? So we sorted out a brand, and we did that, and then it's like, how do you do that? And so, as you indicated, I have quite a few LinkedIn followers and connections. I am a total LinkedIn tart. I will just connect with anybody and everybody, and it's super important. But Anne and I were playing a game, which is who could beat on how many connections we had each day. Because that's the only way we could just get those. I mean, she beat me actually, but it wasn't that far off. But it was literally trying to get the guerrilla marketing to talk to people and put on a waiting list for a product they didn't understand, didn't need, or already had a product, and didn't understand what our value proposition was.
I think we can have some questions from the audience as well. We just want to make it more interactive. Any other questions or?
So after holding up for 9 months, why did you then decide to enjoy Gemini or Gemini came up?
So I was actually at Starling for about 4.5 years.
Oh.
So we went paid for 9 months, and then we got.
And then you didn't decide to leave.
And then I thought the day before the funding came, let's just pack up the bags and go somewhere else. In fact, actually, there is somebody who is connected to Santosh, who's actually just left, who did exactly that about a month before we got funding. You know, there was a runway. We all have runways, and
Sure.
you know, he got to the end of his runway and had to move on. So I think for me, it was very much the real joy there was the building rather than running. And I'll give you a really simple example. So COO, you do anything that the CEO doesn't want to do effectively. And some of my old colleagues said I was head of paper clips and you know, marker pens, things like that.
No, I
Makes
get
sense.
it.
But you know, when we had a call center, okay. Now I've never run a call center before. Okay, I can work out how to do it. You get people and they pick up the phone and do it. Okay, and you get to 30, 40, 50, 60 people in a call center, and then you need a different set of skills. How to do 24/7 scheduling, how to make sure that you've got the team leads coming in and having a different way of working, and having different KPIs. So a very simple example is, you know, if any of you worked in call centers or managed that, it's the average handling time. Okay, and I kept getting asked, what's the average handling time? I said, I do not care. My job is not to reduce that length of the phone call to the minimum. It is to get customer satisfaction. And if someone's got a problem, it takes us 30 minutes. That's far better than saying we've got, you know, an average handling time of 1 minute, 21 seconds. And again, so I got to a point where I needed a professional to come in to run the contact center and then scale that up to the 2,000 people they've got now doing that. And you work across all the functions and you just go, where do you then scale up? And I think that's a really big learning point that you can, all of us have limits and sweet spots of where we come in. It's like actually knowing that you need to have somebody who is the subject matter expert to be able to do the next phase of growth or stability or efficiency.
And so why did you move to crypto? So you decided at some point that you wanted to follow the trend. Was there something specific that triggered your
I
interest?
think it's two things. One is in the UK, fintech and banking and payments has been done, and you know, let's cut through it. I had some restrictions about what I could and could not do, so there wasn't a lot that I could do in that fintech payments where it hadn't been done by Revolut, Starling, Monzo, and that's been proved since that no one has come into the market and made any difference. But if you think about what Starling is, which is banking on a mobile phone, which we take it for granted now completely, that was all about technology. It was applying technology into banking. And if you think of what we're doing in crypto, it's applying technology into banking. So actually understanding that curve of how to get that adoption is, I think, is where it becomes really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Olivier, like, you know, you said you were in a boring job. So what made you switch to, like, you know, whatever you built? Because I think you're one of those who built from, was it on paper clips or?
No. I've never really been, you know, on boring job. I can't bear it. So I meant
you were in your past life.
a bit of flavor. So you know, when I joined, I joined with CIB. I joined Standard Chartered with, you know, in the API banking team. By the way, just for the story, when I joined, you know, it took 6 months to join Standard Chartered, you know, because of the background screening, you know, all the checks, you know, that you can imagine. I joined.
I don't know what you're
The
talking
guy who hired me, a certain Max, welcomed me in the bank by welcome. By the way, I joined SC Venture. Your budget has been dropped. Good luck. So that was when I joined, you know, CIB ITO to do digital signature, you know. So that's the way I joined the bank. So anyway, I did the project. That was, you know, the one-man army stuff. And then, you know, when I joined here, actually, I did not join Zodia immediately. I was the CDA at that time. And then by the time I realized that I needed to, you know, 3 months to have the right to spend 150K. And I had to call Andy Alford in the middle of the night to have the right to spend 150K. And honestly, Andy has responded 2 minutes after I sent him an email, you know, and I had tons of blockers everywhere in the organization. Andy Alford and Michael Goetz, by the way, they responded in 2 minutes, you know, by email. Yes, approved. Of course, there was a side chain, you know, what the hell. But you know, but that, you know, it really gives you the fact that if we want to do crypto in the bank, it's not going to happen. Talents are unlikely to join. You will have, to go through millions of, road blockers even before you can, start implementing. No, so that's one of the drivers, to join, SC Venture and Zodia. Not that things are, easier to do because we bypass all control. Simply that things, you have ways to action it, because you have the startup mindset, and honestly, don't tell the procurement guys, but but that time, we used our credit card, to pay for some stuff because we wanted to be ready, So don't. So the point is that until I receive an invoice of 15K. So the point is that that's the way we have done it. And after that, we were, doing the stuff. So just to say, do the things differently. Apply the same controls, but implement. Now the real question is, nevertheless, and this is spot on nowadays, yes, to just at inception time, the minute you launch a new business, it was easier to launch it, completely separate. And by the way, in the UK, for some reasons, it was easier. The real question is, nevertheless, you need to distribute your product. And for that, you compete with companies being largely funded, having, means that you don't have, and so the real question is how you get access to a proper network, how you get access, speaking of crypto, how you get access to exchanges, this is the real question. So very initially being out of in the banking ecosystem, but out of the bank, that was, the right thing. Now the real question, and I believe challenge for us, is how do we rebuild this world again, in another way. So in the very same way you described, how you upgrade your help desk system made of 2 people, up to 300. The real challenge now is, okay, now we have proven that this business exists. Now we have proven that we can match the competition in terms of technology. We have proven and ticked many boxes. But, what is the next level? Next level is distribution and connectivity and access to market. So that's where the joy is going to be. And it's a bit more than doing paperclip.
So what do you do in your day job
Oh, look.
as a CIO?
Look, as a CIO,
Do you still code?
so look, unfortunately, I love it. And unfortunately, I haven't.
Listening.
Checked out.
So unfortunately, there is and this is also a learning curve for me. Let's be blunt. I had when we were 10, 20 people, I had the tendency, to explain 1, 2, 3 times, and after that, okay, go away, I'll do it myself. The real point is that given the size that we have right now, it's not possible anymore. Unfortunately, my wife, thank you. She allows me to code during the weekend, but after, when I spend 48 hours coding and doing nothing else, she has limit as well. So yes, I still code. The point is, it is all about the journey with Zodia has been, you've seen the slide for those who attended the presentation earlier. To build, it's easy to hard code everything and to be, I've seen too many presentations in my past life where, thanks to the blockchain, you can move a number from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. Ta-da! It proves nothing. The real challenge was to build with only 30, 40 people and appreciate the cost. Thank you, investment team. How we can build, with only 40 people, the same information system that you can find in a bank, such as it looks like in a bank. We do have an accounting system, we do have SAR management system, we do have compliance system, we do have proper channels. You will find, if I show you the information system of Zodia Custody, you can compare to the information system of, at a super high level, of Société Générale, BNP Paribas, and or Standard Chartered Bank. You will have exactly the same component. That was a challenge, how we can achieve this with only 40 people. So as a CIO, my goal was to code when it's necessary, but also give everyone the vision. This is what we achieve. Speaking of Agile, and I don't want to speak much, but the problem that I see with Agile is that you give people, a window of 15 days. And usually they tend to miss, the long-term objective. So you need someone, with vision, unfortunately being a dinosaur like I am, able to understand what is the big picture and yet you focus them on a 15 days window. But my job as a CIO is to think 3-4 years down the line, what are going to be the components that make us win, knowing that this industry moves super quickly. So, I mean, that's kind of a challenge, but it was a challenge.
Just building on that point, I think one of the things that is really important in what we're doing and what Venture's doing is ensuring we have the right people and the right culture. And I've always worried about taking people from main banks or big organizations, okay? Because we do want a CIO who can code, yeah? We don't want them doing stakeholder management, okay? Networking and everything else. We need them in there, but being able to have enough EQ to pull themselves out. And you will go through productivity curves where a few engineers will do a lot, then you bring some more engineers in, productivity actually drops because you've got now small teams, you've got to train, you've got to develop younger talent, etc. But it's really important that we have the leadership and the organisation who can roll up their sleeves and get things done, rather than just cascading. And I always remember there was I think it was at Starling, someone came to me, she was Barclays, brilliant CV, lovely, lovely person. And I said, what is your skill? She said, stakeholder management. Go away. We don't need that in a small startup. We need people who can do, who have the vision and can deliver their component and understand where that is. And I think one of the challenges that I've got coming into here is how do we ensure that we engage the bank, which is why we're here this week. So we spend quite a bit of time in the other building, which has been absolutely wonderful to meet people and understand what they want and how we can help them. But it's also just working at their cadence and our cadence. That doesn't mean that we slow down and do things differently. We have to keep going at our pace because we're hungry for what we need to achieve.
And so, describe your team right now. So you said you have about 40 people.
Yep.
Who's in your team?
So we've got all the functions you would expect. We've got 8 people over in Dublin, so we're registered in Dublin as well as the UK. We've got a number of developers in France and Spain, so we're a multi-country environment. Fairly flat structured in terms of that. In terms of the decision making, I'll be honest, we're not quite where I'd like us to be in that kind of place, and I think there's a lot of probably a bit too much group thinking. So we've built a strategy. We went to the board last month and got that approved. And for those of you in the last meeting, Olivier had a slide to talk about that. But we need to get everybody focused. Okay? And it's no surprise in this audience we need to be focused on the revenue. We need to be focused on the numbers and drive what we're doing to ensure that we've got product market fit. And so that is a lot of what we're doing right now, making sure our OKRs are absolutely very, very focused. And therefore, we should be able to make decisions as individuals rather than having group think, because we just need to get that action out there.
I want to ask one more question, but it's more, I would say, a contextual question. Obviously, with the collapse of FTX, it's brought a lot of turmoil. How has this impacted you guys?
Really good question. Let me answer it at sort of 2 or 3 levels. First of all, FTX have got nothing to do with crypto. And I know I keep saying that, but I'm in the crypto industry. It is very, very easy for journalists, it's clickbait to say FTX, Bitcoin, it's rubbish, etc. It's got nothing to do. It was the enforcement or the lack of enforcement of existing rules and regulations. So that's a message that you will hear me talk quite a bit about. If you think about how Zodia, and there's obviously some people who've been here a lot longer than I have in this journey, we started this because we believed in the segregation of venues and custody, and we think this is the right thing to do. Okay, and I think the team had a really hard time to actually get that heard in the market. FTX came along and accelerated that hypothesis right up to today, and so we're having conversations with clients that we weren't having before. Or we were having conversations where they didn't return our phone calls and now they're phoning us. So from a business development perspective, it has been fantastic, and we thank Sam for what he's done. But I think that is super important. The industry has lost some trust, okay? And a lot of people have been hurt, and that is not what anybody wants. But it has, I think, moved us onto the next phase, where the grey hairs, where the control, where the rigor the compliance. And for us, this is an amazing opportunity because we're bank backed. And the thing that we've been working on the last couple of months is, well, what does that mean? Okay, we've got a shareholder as a bank. That's not good enough. We've got the compliance risk and everything else. Now, is that a burden or is that an opportunity? We think it's an opportunity. It's a value add. It's not a cost. If we think of it as a tax, then we haven't articulated it well enough within our organisation and to our customers. And what we're now seeing is conversations where people have gone to perhaps some of our competitors and are now saying, no, we need to go to you because you're registered in the UK and Ireland. You've got a bank behind you. In fact, we have two banks behind us, which doesn't matter. That is a much better story. So I think what's really happened is the hypothesis is absolutely right, and FTX has accelerated that end state to today. And what we need to do is embrace that and go out to market.
To second that, the world post-FTX is the world that we have bet on 3 years ago. I remember, Alex, don't know if you remember the discussion we had 14 months ago when you said you guys have made the bet that the regulation will come before your competitors are, at the right level. And in fact, yes, that was all bet. And in fact, in that sense, FTX has been a blessing because regulation never, comes before the market. And in fact, the market, the FTX event, is really the signal. That has really helped us. So don't get me wrong, that's a pity and that's a disaster for many people. But for us, it was spot on. Couple of examples. When we were speaking about segregated account, I said cold storage segregated account 24/7 available.
That was on your site.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the cold storage thing, that is the way we crack the Japanese market.
Can you explain cold storage?
So cold storage, usually cold storage was the market.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for confirming.
For those in
It's a-
Singapore,
it's
yeah.
a private joke.
I'll be back in half an hour. But when we had sort of at the point that a few years back, what you were saying, we had this conversation about cold storage, and
Yep.
when we were looking as well how to set it up from legal perspective, how to put sort of legal structure to apply, we're thinking, okay, CAS rules will apply at some point. So it's just a matter of time when the regulation comes in. We did not predict that such a collapse, but it's not really. So it was, yes, I agree, it was exactly
So-
the same.
Explain cold storage.
So the cold storage concept. So there is a difference between what we call cold storage and what the rest of the market call cold storage. And by the way, this is also a learning to us. Is that when I said earlier that we had to make spot on noise, we also have to deconstruct many preconceived ideas. So cold storage was perceived by the market largely like the best solution ever to custodize or to keep your asset safe. Basically, think about a vault in the Swiss Alps. Problem is that that's super secure, but you want to get access to your asset. It takes 1 week. So when we say 24/7 available, that means that the technology, and we have selected purposely the partners in terms of technology, such as we can still have the speed of the online transaction with the security of the cold storage. So 24/7. I can give you an example very precisely. One of our competitors, Vigo, when we interviewed them, they explained that to transfer asset, the way to multi-sig, to get approval was to call back by video and looking at your face, say, yeah, apparently that's the right guy, I will authorize the transaction. So we have said, no way. In 3 years down the line, when we will be on the market, that is not going to be, the standard. And de facto, look at Fireblocks or, again, our competitors, this is not what they have. So that capability to implement cold storage 24/7 available, but on top of that, segregated account, we were the only one to speak about segregated account. We were the only one. Segregated account, FTX, the FTX collapse is the combination of multiple factors. One of the factors is that FTX implementing an omnibus account, so commingling all assets in one single big pot. In one single big pot, it has authorized them to use the asset to lend them to Alameda, and in fact the first company to collapse was Alameda. Then, it happened on FTX as well. With the construct that we have, first, the assets are safe, because segregated. The second thing is that with the model that we have implemented with Zodia Market and that we are soon to implement with other exchange, the fact is that the assets are safe with us. They are not in the exchange. They are safe with us. So it makes a complete difference. Even if you can trade on an exchange platform, the point is that the exchange is not going to be able to, move your asset, without you knowing. So it completely changed the game. Point is that when we explained that 1 year ago, and again, this is back to the vision, but I will nuance the thing about the vision. It's great to have the vision, but to have a solution before the market wants it. I mean, there is a danger here. The point is that we had that 1 year ago, and we were the only one to speak about that. Traction, 0. FTX has drastically accelerated the discussion, and the key learning is that we have learned that maybe we were not speaking to the right people. Maybe we are not speaking, to the right level in terms of decision making. No, we speak to the right people. They understand the risk. They understand the counterparty risk, the settlement risk, the bankruptcy, remoteness, all those concepts. And this is key for any business to speak at the right level. Because yes, you can easily, especially in the crypto space, be completely swamped by the noise made by everyone, When in fact you have the right solution, but you are not understood because too early. So the learning is pick to the right level in terms of customer, ensure that you have traction at the various level, tech-wise, compliance, risk management-wise, plus senior management. The minute you get all the planet aligned, that's what we see nowadays. The market is there.